Hey guys, Popcorn Recaps here, and today I'll show you the horror film, Grave Encounters. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. The movie starts with Jerry Hartfield, the television producer of Grave Encounters, a very famous ghost investigation television series, who explains that Grave Encounters was cancelled in 2003 after the 5th episode, when the cast and crew, along with the footage for episode 6, mysteriously went missing. The footage was then finally recovered in 2010 and brought to him. Hartfield explains that the events about to be shown in the film is 76 hours of raw footage from the 6th and final episode filmed by the crew, edited only for time purposes. We can then see the beginning of the recovered footage with Lance, accompanied with occult specialist Sasha, surveillance operator Matt, and cameraman TC, trying to investigate the abandoned mental asylum of Collingwood Psychiatric Hospital, where many instances of paranormal activity have been reported since its closure in 1963. There, they meet with Morgan, a local historian who explains that this hospital was mostly used by family members of the patients as a dumping ground for embarrassing family members, rather than a place where they could get some help. Which is why the head doctor, Dr. Arthur Friedkin, used his position as the head doctor of the hospital to perform secret brain surgery experiments on the patients without anyone outside the hospital knowing. But in 1948, 6 patients broke out of their room and stabbed Friedkin in his office, killing him. They are then given a day tour of Collingwood and its underground tunnels by Kenny, the hospital's caretaker, and are then joined by the fake psychic medium Houston to assist them with the investigation. At night, Matt is then seen setting up several cameras in the hospital around the hotspots of reported previous ghost activities, which are constantly recording and streaming to the crew's main computer. The crew then voluntarily lock themselves inside the hospital and begin their investigation by setting up camp next to the hospital's main entrance, which is locked from the outside until 6 a.m. when the caretaker comes and unlocks the door. The hospital layout is similar to a prison since all windows are barred, so even if the crew wanted to get out of there, they couldn't. They begin their investigation by trying to communicate with the supposed ghosts of the hospital by speaking out loud and trying to record any voices or sounds with the voice recorder, but no paranormal sound is recorded. Even worse, absolutely no paranormal activity is detected in the first few hours of the investigation, until a loud bang is heard by the crew. They run toward the heard sound when they arrive in front of a door that was just filled with a few small rats. What a disappointment! While TC is going around alone filming the hospital and making fun of his surroundings, he gets a call from his wife and daughter crying about not being able to sleep because of monsters under her bed. TC then tells her that monsters aren't real. All the while, a creepy wheelchair is seen moving by itself in the hallway. Then, while filming a bathroom, the door slams behind him while no one is around, scaring him for the first time ever. The crew is excited that this phenomenon was caught on film and congratulate TC on the first findings of the night. The first, but certainly not the last. The crew then tries to make contact with the spirit that slammed the door but is at first discouraged by the lack of response, until a loud noise is heard right behind the crew in the hallway. They start following the strange noise until they come upon a hospital bed thrown on the ground with one of its wheels spinning really fast, quickly followed by the sound of someone running upstairs. When they arrive upstairs, Sasha decides to use her recording device to try to pick up any strange sounds when the crew films an invisible entity moving Sasha's hair. After this incident, the crew decides to finish filming and wait next to the entrance door until 6 a.m. when the caretaker returns to open the door. The crew gets reunited after Lance, TC, and Houston get lost in the hospital and begin to start packing up since the caretaker is coming back soon. Matt then disappears while trying to retrieve the cameras he placed earlier on, all by himself. Scared that Matt might have fallen and got hurt, the crew decides to go look for him together except for Houston, who decides to stay in the camp. While looking for Matt, the crew stumble upon Matt's camera equipment just laying on the ground in an hallway. They then gets the fantastic idea to split up to go look for him separately. What a great idea! While climbing up the stairs, TC gets surprised by a noise behind him and gets pushed down the stairs by an invisible spirit. Clearly hurt and scared, TC orders Lance to call the caretaker right now so that he comes quickly and opens the door for the crew so they can leave immediately. Unfortunately, it seems like the cell phones have no reception, which angers TC even more as he starts to act more nervous and aggressive than before. The crew now becoming uneasy, and with the caretaker not showing up hours after the agreed meeting time, The crew decides to bust open the front door with a hospital bed by using it as a battering ram. After multiple tries, they manage to bust open the front door, but instead of seeing the outside, they discover that the exit mysteriously loops back into another hallway. At first, they think that they got the wrong door, but when Sasha closes the door, they see that the original inscription "Death Awaits" written on the entry doors is still there, meaning that this is indeed the same front door. They get very happy when they find an exit door, but when busting it open with their kicks, they discover another similar hallway, with no end in sight. They arrive in front of a barred window and TC tries to destroy it, with no success. They then remember that not every window has bars on them, since the windows upstairs don't have any. Lance then realizes that it's 8:34 a.m., and yet it's still dark outside when the sun should be already up by 7:45 a.m. Houston says that it's maybe due to an electrical anomaly that is moving the clock faster, which is why the caretaker is still not there yet. That was a very acceptable theory, until we see a cut of Lance standing at the camp with the time being 1:12 p.m., which is now clear that this is not an electrical anomaly. The crew is then seen taking a nap at camp until one of the lights falls to the ground, waking everybody up. The time being 8 p.m., meaning that the crew slept for a full 7 hours. Lance then shows to the camera the crew's mini fridge with rotten food inside when the food was fresh not too long ago. TC mentions that earlier on he saw a fire exit on the roof, and that maybe this is the way out of this building. The crew agrees and decides to walk to the roof exit, but the crew cannot find their way out since they arrive at a dead end when climbing the stairs leading to the roof exit. They then hear the sound of someone screaming. The crew thinks that it is Matt's voice as they start running toward the sound to find no one in the room, until an iron frame bed starts levitating, scaring the crew that tries to run toward the camp but cannot find its way out of the hospital's maze. It looks as though the building seems to change around them by creating new paths, new hallways, and false exits. While the group is sleeping again, someone scratches the word hello into Sasha's back. Lance then manages to enter into contact with Matt, who tells them that he is freezing, but does not give more info. The crew tries to go after Matt, and while looking for him, films a young woman in an hospital gown running across the hallway, whose face demonically distorts when she turns back, scaring the crew like never before. Houston is separated from the crew and is seen strangled by an invisible spirit. He is then thrown across the hallway by a flash of light, killing him on impact. The crew is now extremely psychologically weak and have trouble staying calm. While resting, the remaining crew awaken to discover that they have somehow been fitted with hospital identification bracelets, each bracelet having their name written on it. While roaming through the hallways, Sasha gets grabbed by an arm coming from an old patient's door. Lance, Sasha, and TC finally find Matt in a room, alone, wearing a hospital gown and appearing to be mentally unstable. Matt then tells them in a moment of semi-clarity that they can all leave as soon as they are better, as if they were indeed real patients in this hospital. When the crew tries to sleep again, they are awoken by a screaming sound and multiple arms reaching from the ceiling trying to grab them. The crew were running away from that nightmarish vision when Lance notices that the tub is filled with blood. As the group leaves the room, TC notices that Matt remains in the room, staring at the blood-filled bathtub. He tries to pull Matt away, but is dragged by a dead patient into the bathtub, in which they both disappear. Lance, Sasha, and Matt manage to find an elevator, but the doors are stuck. Lance then goes alone to try to find something to pry the elevator door open. After finding an iron pipe from an old hospital gurney, he encounters a demonic-looking patient with no tongue. Lance panics and runs to the elevator and tries to pry open the door, but is then attacked by the demonic patient. Sasha runs to his help and manages to close the door, leaving the patient unable to attack them. Meanwhile, Matt records himself jumping down the elevator shaft while Lance and Sasha were occupied by the demon patient. After climbing down the ladder in the elevator shaft, they confirm Matt's death by taking his pulse. When they arrive in the tunnels of the hospital, Sasha becomes suddenly ill and starts coughing up blood. The two then stop to rest, and while they are sleeping, Sasha is covered by a strange white smoke and disappears. Lance, now completely alone, wanders down the seemingly endless corridors as his mental health spirals downward, feeding on rats to survive. Eventually, Lance encounters a door that appears out of nowhere, which leads to Dr. Friedkin's legendary secret operating room. Inside, he finds evidence of satanic rituals and black magic being performed on the patients. Lance then discovers a small sacrificial altar on the floor, after which he is attacked by the ghost of Friedkin, who drags him away as he screams. Before the camera cuts out, the camera is then turned back on for the last time, showing Lance alive but is implied to have been lobotomized by Friedkin. He then states to the camera, "He said, I'm all better now. I can finally go home," followed by his famous outro, "For Grave Encounters, it's Preston signing off." The screen then cuts to black, and there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Good night.